everybody, and welcome back to the Insert Wisdom podcast, episode number 3. I'm so excited to be sitting down to record another episode. How about that intro, though? I am so happy with how that turned out. My good friend Tanner helped me to source that, and I'm very, very happy with it. I think it fits the tone pretty well. Let me know what you think in the comments. So I know that it has been probably over a week since I posted my last episode of Insert Wisdom, but that was because it was my birthday, February 1st. Thank you very much. And so my week was sort of taken up by various things. We went to Disneyland. I had a few friends over for a game night. And then I got some kind of a head cold. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice or not, but I didn't want to record another episode until I felt like my voice sounded better. But I don't think I sound that sick. So I decided that I would sit down and film another episode for you guys. So those are just some quick housekeeping updates. In today's episode, I wanted to talk a bit about purpose and my relationship with that word and what it means over the course of my lifetime, what I've learned about it, what I've heard other people say about it, the esoteric and the mundane. You know, there's a whole range of what people think that word means, whether it's important or not, and ultimately what that word means. And this is definitely a topic that I do not have all the answers for. As I've stated in the description for this podcast, I don't think I will ever have all of the answers. And I don't endeavor to anymore. I just am extremely curious about this whole human experience that we find ourselves in. So I'm always doing research and reading about things and just creating hypotheses about these concepts because I find it fascinating, personally. But that word has stuck with me for a very long time, because I remember asking my dad when I was very young what he thought his purpose was, and his answer kind of stuck with me ever since then. He said that he didn't know. So that made me sort of have an existential crisis, I suppose, when I was 12 years old, of like, how can you get to the end of life and not have a sense for what you think that your purpose was? So anyway, that kind of goes into a whole rabbit hole of, well, do you even have to know what your purpose is? Can it just be that you're simply here on this planet, you're alive and making choices, living your day-to-day life, trying to do your best and to have relationships and to create what you want to create, have a career, you know, whatever you ascribe meaning to that word for. But I've always had this idea in my head that once I found my quote-unquote purpose, that it would just take off, right? I have always thought that, well, if I just try enough things, if I dabble enough, if I really give it my all to that one thing and it doesn't take off, okay, well then that means it must not be my purpose. And I've asked various people over time if they thought that this idea, this hypothesis that I had, was accurate. And I've received mixed reviews on that. Some people have said, well, no, because anything you do in life is going to take consistent effort to move forward. You got to choose that thing every day. Which brings into, you know, a whole other host of questions like, well, what about the people who can't be consistent or they have multiple passions? Because that's a bit of advice that content creators or creatives in general are always told, like, pick a niche, because a niche allows for an audience to sort of, the only way I can put it is put you in a box. They like know how to perceive you. Like, oh, Kate, she's the one who does this. Or, oh, that Drew a follow on TikTok. She reads men down, right? And I could totally understand how that would provide a sense of comfort, because you tune into various content creators or music because you know what to expect. Because they create an atmosphere, they create a world for you that is consistent, even if it's just like how someone like Taylor Swift, for example, has had different eras. But the through line in what she has done in her career, in her life, is create a sense of otherworldly comfort. She makes you feel seen, no matter what the era is. And so that's the through line there. My purpose so far seems to have been to learn how to process grief, learn how to reparent myself, learn how to be less in control, try to have less control of myself and my emotions, feel my emotions, to be a little bit of a hypochondriac at times, to be a writer. I've always been creative. I've always told stories. To have a voice and a presence online. I have 85,000 followers on TikTok, and that happened very quickly because it seemed that people were resonating with the things that I made content about. And then on Threads, it's the same thing. People seem to really enjoy what I have to say, no matter how chaotic or silly it might be, which honestly is so much fun. So then how do I factor that into my quote-unquote purpose? Okay, people see me as a comfort, I suppose, or they see me as somebody who makes them feel strong or makes them laugh or they enjoy the chaos, whatever way you want to look at it. But I have never felt at my ripe old age, which I will not mention, is that I still don't really know what my purpose is. And of course, like, there are so many people who say, well, you don't have to know your purpose, or sometimes your purpose can be segmented. It can be, well, what was my purpose in this moment, this day, this week? I suppose my purpose in this moment is creating this podcast episode and creating that, editing it, and putting it out into the universe. And then maybe you who are listening take something important from it, and that helps you change your life. I know that I, at least, have always equated grandness, life-shattering things with purpose. I think about the Taylor Swifts of the world, or the kings and queens, or whoever, people who have high status, who affect a lot of people. I've always ascribed purpose with something like that. And if I'm not achieving something on that level, then my life is essentially meaningless, or I haven't brought value. And I think there's a whole other layer to purpose with that too, because it kind of ties into one of the things that I was talking about in a previous episode, that if you hear advice from someone and it doesn't resonate with you, or it's like some kind of universal teaching that people ascribe to, like, well, being alive is purpose enough, and you can let go of worldly pursuits and whatever. You can just be, and that is enough. If that doesn't work for you, like, I know that only works for me some of the time, not all the time, then you don't have to listen to that. If you're like me and you hear that and you think on some level, well, yeah, that could be true. I could get down with that. I suppose I could renounce all of my worldly pursuits and just exist and float around and cultivate inner peace, and that is my purpose. But for me, that is an incomplete picture. For me, I'm like, hell no. I want to achieve things. I want to do a lot. I want to help people. I want to create things. So for me, I suppose purpose has always been a multi-pronged animal. It hasn't been one thing. And believe me, I have tried to narrow it down to one thing, have like a through line to everything it is that I am consistently attracted to. Because like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I've always said, well, if I try enough things that I'm drawn to, then that thing will just take off. And I've tried many things. I've tried being an astrologer, a content creator on TikTok, Threads, and YouTube. I've tried being a canvasser, a bartender, a waitress, a health and life coach. I've tried being in finance, if you can believe that. I'm a writer. I have a published book that is out on Amazon. Of course, links, as always, will be available in the description. And yet, and streaming. I tried to be a Twitch streamer. Almost none of those things have stuck. And I would venture to say that only one of those things has ever really fit into the model, the expectation I had of what purpose would mean for me, that, once I found the thing, it would take off, and that is my TikTok. I remember so distinctly when I found my voice on TikTok, everything just blew up. It took off so fast. I went from 300 something followers to over 80,000 in just a couple of months. And I understand that that's not a lot compared to maybe some other creatives, but for me, that was monumental. I was like, wow, okay, this is it. People resonate with what I have to say and the content I make. Nothing else really in my life, though, has fit that model of, once I find the thing, it'll take off. Then I suppose it becomes, what comes back to you no matter what? No matter how you feel, no matter what you do, what consistently shows up? Is it a person? Is it a theme? Is it a question? Is it a bit of inspiration? Is it an activity? What is the thing that shows up time and time again if you feel lost or directionless or purposeless? Is that the right word? Yeah, purposeless. For me, it has always been creativity. It has always been refining myself, unearthing the things that I don't want to look at and become better, and then sharing what I've learned online, whether that's in the form of this podcast or TikTok or Threads. I've always been a writer. Ever since I was a little girl, I've written stories and I've journaled. I have always had a desire to be seen and put myself out there, put the things I have learned and created out there, because I have never wanted anyone to feel alone. I've always wanted to help people maybe reorient themselves, come back to themselves. There's a great quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and by the way, I feel like I will always quote Emerson because he is the love of my life. I love his teaching so much, but he said, "I sought not to bring people to me, but to themselves." And that is so incredibly important to know yourself, because it's like what I've mentioned before. We have all of the answers within us at all times. All times. There is no situation or confusion or anything that can take away the innate wisdom that we all have within us. And so that's why I love that quote so much, because I've always tried to have an undercurrent of that in my content, in the sense that, I have worked on myself. I've done so much work in therapy. I've read, I've researched, I've worked things out, I've thought about these things. And so I would love it if the content I make has that undertone to it, in the sense that maybe I can be a light in that way to help people understand and feel that it is okay for them to do the same. Now, is that purpose? I suppose that is purpose. So it's very important to see what are the things that come up time and time again. Fate can come knocking on your door any second of any day, and it may not be what you're expecting. It may not be the path that you thought you would take. It might even be the path that you've been avoiding all this time. If we want to go to the esoteric realm of things, I know that in Kabbalah, for example, they say that the purpose of incarnation, the purpose of being alive, is to correct yourself, to become better, to turn darkness into light, which is very much on par with the teachings of the Emerald Tablets, let's say, which is, I think, known as the very first text ever recorded. It comes out of ancient Egypt. It's associated with the god Thoth, I think is how you say that name. But in them, it talks about a kind of spiritual and physical alchemy. That's what alchemy meant to them. It's a physical, mental, emotional change. You turn darkness into light. You work on yourself. You become better than the day before. But there's another layer to that, right? Because at the end of our lives, I seriously doubt that we are going to be lying there on our deathbeds thinking, wow, I really just changed so much in my lifetime. I made those goals. And maybe, I don't know, maybe some of us are. But I think really what most people think about when they know they're going to die or they're close to the end of their lives is, wow, I really loved you. I loved this person. Thank you for sharing your life with me. So there's this eternal quality of being alive. And that eternality, is that even a word? I don't know. It's about love. It's about how much we gave to other people. It's about how much we were able to feel happy, joyful, blissful, whatever word you want to ascribe to it. How often we were able to do that and really live in the moment and enjoy everything, no matter what's going on, as it's happening. I'm currently reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and the entire point of that book is reorienting ourselves to the present. What he essentially says, at least in the first few chapters of that book, I haven't finished it yet, is human beings are always thinking about the future or the past, and rarely are they ever in the present. Because if they were in the present, there would be no troubles. There would be no anxiety. There would be no sadness. Everything as it is in the moment is whole, complete. It's the source of everything, because you don't do things in the future. You don't do things in the past. If you're going to do something, you do it now. You do it in the present. And we can tap into the present anytime we want. So then Eckhart Tolle would say, purpose is about tuning in to the now, because everything flows from the now. And this anxiety that we feel about the future, about what if I never figure it out, what if I never know my purpose, what if, is all stemmed from future thinking. It's all stemmed from a projection that is not real about the future. Whereas if you sit in the present moment and you really take it in, you pause, which is a concept in Kabbalah as well, then all is okay. Everything is complete and whole in that moment. And who knows, maybe if we all tapped into the present moment more often, maybe the answers would come more readily. Maybe they would come out of that silence and that stillness instead of anxiety and frenetically running around with our heads cut off, trying to find purpose, trying to find whatever it is that we think is out there in the world when really, once again, it's all within us at all times. Then, on the other side of the spectrum, of course we can say, well, what if I want my purpose to just be going to my job, coming home, watching Netflix, having a matcha latte like I'm doing right now, and, just nothing big, I'm content with what I have. That is great, because then you know what you want, right? So many people don't know what they want. And there is beauty in the mundane too. Like there's beauty in, I remember Jenna Marbles, she said one time that if you think your purpose is just sitting on the internet looking at pictures of cats, then do that, Speaking of Jenna Marbles, I miss her. I wish she'd come back. She was such a light in the darkness. She made everybody laugh. She, was strange and out there and avant-garde, and I loved her channel so much. I miss her. There's no way she's ever going to listen to this, but if you are, Jenna, I miss you. Please come back and be a light again. But again, there are all of these philosophies, all of these quotes from mundane to extraordinary, like I said, even though, quite honestly, there is mundane in the extraordinary and the extraordinary in the mundane. I have gone through my life attempting to weave all of these things together to have an answer or to have something to say, at least, about purpose. And who knows, maybe that was planted in me from that conversation I had with my dad. Was I put here to wrestle with that question? Was I already meant to want to know what that is? If I had to sum up what I think purpose is at this point in my life, I would say that it is not one thing necessarily. It is not something that can be easily quantified. And I know that there's some quote out there that said, if you don't have the ability to explain something simply, then you don't understand it yet. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe I do. But this is just what I've learned in my exploration of this question and in listening to other people's opinions. I think purpose is whatever you say that it is. Whatever you say purpose is purpose for you. I think a lot of it comes down to what lights you up, what makes you happy. This thing doesn't have to be your job. Maybe your job is helping other people in some way. Maybe your job is providing a service for people. But then you, play guitar on the weekends and that just makes you feel so incredibly good. That's purpose. I think purpose is being surrounded by people you love and remembering to tap into the present moment. Because if we spend too much time roaming around the annals of the future or the dark, murky depths of the past, we will never enjoy our lives because we will forever be somewhere else. And there is only the present. That's all that we have. We don't know how long we have on this planet. We don't know necessarily what's going to happen next. The present moment is all that we have. So I think that's a huge part of it too. Remembering to love the present and to slow down, enjoy things, savor them. Have something that you're working towards every day. What is it that you're working on about yourself? Are you not afraid to ask yourself questions about, well, why am I so anxious about this thing? I mean, I've been trying to unravel that mystery for myself for years now, and I think I'm the healthiest that I've ever been, and I finally find myself coming to the end of that tunnel, I think. And the way I think of that is that the more energy we put towards something, that's taking up a sizable chunk of our lives. And just think if that thing were to be resolved, like anxiety, for example, imagine what else could come rushing in. So I do believe what the Emerald Tablets say and what Kabbalah says and what so many other spiritual practices say is that truly we are here to be transforming darkness into light. And there's so many facets that go into that and so many things that means. It can be something as small as choosing to get up an hour earlier than you did the day before. Or it could be, like volunteering or going to therapy or not being afraid to ask yourself the hard questions. I think it's incredibly important for human beings to be giving, whatever that looks like. But I really think it's a combination of those things. Showing up, doing the work on yourself, remembering to enjoy the present moment, what lights you up and makes you happy, and ultimately, once again, whatever you say your purpose is. And that, I think, only comes when you are so in tune with yourself. And like all things, there's so many ways you can be in tune with yourself. Not everybody is as hyper-vigilant as I am. Not everybody is constantly thinking about these things every day, and yet it's so effortless for them, right? But they are still tuned into who they are in the way that they live it. It's through their actions, which I guess could be another foray into what is purpose. It's your actions. It's what you choose to do every day. Purpose can be individual and it can be collective, and I think both intertwine into one another. If you work on yourself, that's only going to help others to do the same. You can be an example. Your energy shifts when you can't sit there and tell me that if you resolve your anxiety in some way or you lessen it, that's not going to come across to the people around you. I know that in my life recently, people have said to me that I seem so different than I was a year ago. And that honestly is just such a huge compliment. And then there is a collective purpose. I think human beings are here for something much greater than the petty squabbles that we go through every day or some of the things that we choose to spend our time worrying about. I think that humankind really is here to, like I've already said many, many times, sorry if I'm getting repetitive, to convert darkness into light and to move things forward, to have more of a humanitarian lens. I also think we're not meant to know everything. And that's super hard for me because I remember a time in my life when I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know why everything happened. And once I finally got it through my head that I will never have the answers to everything, then I could truly let go and enjoy my life. Or at least enjoy it more. Because when we get stuck in our heads, like I know I do on a daily basis, it robs us of the present. It robs us of action, of doing things that actually feel good. Because at least for me, overthinking means that I'm anxious, which means I'm worried about some projection in the future that probably won't even happen. So, what can you do today to light yourself up, to enjoy your time? Is it something like, I'm going to say it again, getting a matcha latte? Or is it painting something? Is it talking to a friend? Anything that you can do to tap into that, which we can all do at any time, is only going to serve your purpose, whatever you choose your purpose to be. So with that, I am so happy that I sat down today to record an episode. I am feeling much better than I did at the beginning of this episode. I was feeling like so hot and kind of sluggish, but I tell you what, that matcha latte really picked me up, and then sitting down to create also really made my day brighter. And I hope that this episode made your day brighter as well. And I'm so happy to know that, honestly, my voice doesn't sound that bad. So, yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, I will have the links in the description to every place that you can connect with me: TikTok, Threads, YouTube, all the socials. I will have the link to my debut romance novel, Under the Same Sky, as well. People are loving it, and I hope that you love it too. Yeah, just another day in the life over here, sitting at my desk, recording a podcast episode, and I love it just as much as I did that very first one. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.